Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 11. Integrated Civics. Geography, Symbols, and Holidays. Part 4. National Holidays. There are 11 national holidays in the United States. National U.S. holidays are days of the year officially recognized by the federal government as significant times of rest, celebration, contemplation, or remembrance. State holiday calendars often look very similar to the federal holiday calendar, but each state government decides separately whether to recognize a holiday or not. All 11 national holidays are observed in Connecticut. The national holidays of the United States of America are New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. The first national holiday of the year is New Year's Day. In the United States, most people celebrate the beginning of the new year on January 1st. Many Americans gather in the night on December 31st to say goodbye to the old year and welcome in the new year, exchanging well wishes for the coming 12 months. In many cities in the USA, fireworks are set off and music is played at midnight as New Year's Day officially begins. The next national holiday of the year is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is observed the third Monday of January, a date close to the birthday of a highly influential leader in the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement in the United States tried to end racial discrimination. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the most vocal promoters of this cause. For years, King fought for civil rights. He gave speeches, organized boycotts, joined in on marches and demonstrations, and worked for equality for all Americans in many other ways. King said he was dreaming of a future in which people throughout the United States would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He inspired other people to try to end racial discrimination, too. The things King did to fight for civil rights were legal in the United States. As King often pointed out, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and the freedom to petition the government are all First Amendment rights, as are other freedoms King and other civil rights movement protesters exercised while fighting against racial discrimination. Even though he was legally exercising his constitutional freedoms as he fought for civil rights, however, Martin Luther King Jr. was more than once wrongfully arrested and was frequently threatened by people who hated his ideas. King knew he was in danger of being seriously harmed or even killed at any moment. Even so, he didn't let that stop him. In the end, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Up to the day of his murder, though, he worked for equality for all Americans by publicly expressing his opinion, petitioning the government, organizing protests, and participating in democracy in many other ways, despite the many promoters of racial discrimination who tried to silence him. In his final public speech, the day before he was killed, Martin Luther King Jr. told fellow civil rights movement protesters that he believed they would make America a better nation, one that truly reflected the ideals of democracy and equality laid down by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He said that he doubted he would live long enough to see racial discrimination end in the United States, but he believed that it would happen. He told his listeners that no matter what happened to him personally, we, as a people, will get to the promised land. Here's a small part of the speech Martin Luther King Jr. gave the day before he was assassinated.
Let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination. Let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make America a better nation. Civil rights movement protesters are really standing up for the best in the American dream and taking the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s inspiring efforts in the fight against racial discrimination and the powerful impact his actions and words have had on others who have worked for equality for all Americans are commemorated every January on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Civics Test Question: What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? Fought for civil rights. Martin Luther King Jr. fought for civil rights and worked for equality for all Americans. Civics Test Question: What movement tried to end racial discrimination? What movement tried to end racial discrimination? The Civil Rights Movement. During the Civil Rights Movement, Martin Luther King Jr. and thousands of other Americans campaigned to end racial discrimination in the USA. The national U.S. holiday called President's Day is in February. This is because there are two especially influential and well-known U.S. presidents who were born in February. George Washington's birthday is in February, and President's Day was originally conceptualized as a day to honor the nation's first president and the father of our country. You'll still sometimes see President's Day labeled Washington's birthday on calendars and public announcements. Civics Test Question: Who is the father of our country? Who is the father of our country? Washington. Many Americans consider George Washington the father of our country. Civics Test Question: Who was the first president? Who was the first president? Washington. The first person to be elected President of the United States was George Washington. There's another president with a February birthday who left a large mark on U.S. history. Alongside Washington, this other highly notable commander-in-chief is often commemorated on President's Day. Abraham Lincoln is remembered for many things he did as president. Most notably, Lincoln led the United States during the Civil War that was fought between the North and the South as a result of arguments about slavery, states' rights, and economic issues. As the U.S. military's commander-in-chief during the Civil War, Lincoln is credited with having saved the Union by directing and inspiring the troops that fought to keep the country together, and in his role as head of the executive branch of the government during the war between the states, Lincoln took the executive action of issuing the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves in most Southern states. Since Lincoln was born in February, and since he had such a large impact during his time in office, people often think about him alongside Washington on President's Day. Civics test question. What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? Freed the slaves. Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation during his time as president, which freed the slaves in most Southern states. Lincoln is also said to have saved the Union. He led the United States during the Civil War. Civics test question. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. The Civil War. Lincoln led the country during the Civil War, or War between the States, that was fought between the North and the South in the 1800s. Memorial Day is the last Monday in May. On Memorial Day, Americans honor those who have died fighting to protect the people of the United States. Memorial Day was first observed in the 1800s, just after the Civil War. When the war between the states came to an end, Americans in the North decided to mark the end of the month of May as a time to honor soldiers who died fighting for the Union. Today, people in the United States often visit cemeteries and graveyards on Memorial Day to pay their respects to members of the U.S. military who died fighting in wars in the 1900s as well. Parades, concerts, and other observations are held to honor soldiers killed in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and other more recent conflicts. On Memorial Day, many people also commemorate firefighters and other first responders who died trying to protect others during a violent attack that was made on the United States in 2001. More than 400 firefighters, paramedics, and police officers died on September 11, 2001, when terrorists attacked the United States. Although these first responders were not members of the military, since they died attempting to protect people in the USA from a terrorist attack, they are often recognized on Memorial Day as well. Civics test question. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. The Civil War. The United States fought several wars in the 1800s. The Civil War fought between the North and the South resulted in the greatest loss of American lives of any war fought by the United States. But it was not the only war of the 1800s. That same century, the United States also fought the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, and the Spanish-American War. Civics test question. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. World War II. World War II is one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. The United States fought several wars in the 1900s. 5 wars of the 1900s in which the U.S. military participated are World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Persian Gulf War, also more briefly known as the Gulf War. Civics test question. What major event happened on September 11th, 2001 in the United States? What major event happened on September 11th, 2001 in the United States? Terrorists attacked the United States. On September 11th, 2001, terrorists hijacked passenger planes in order to attack military and civilian targets in the U.S. Juneteenth is celebrated on the 19th of June to commemorate the day news of the Emancipation Proclamation finally reached a town in Texas that had been kept in the dark about this important announcement. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued during the Civil War, which was fought between the North and the South in large part due to the problem of slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in most Southern states. Americans descended from people who were in slavery in the United States have long celebrated Juneteenth as a way of honoring their families' struggles and commemorating the abolition of slavery. In the 21st century, the federal government formally recognized the national significance of Juneteenth as a day of commemoration, remembrance, and celebration. In recognition of the importance of the Emancipation Proclamation and the abolition of slavery, Juneteenth is now a national holiday. Civics test question. Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Slavery. The Civil War was fought in large part due to fierce disputes over the issue of slavery in the United States. There were economic reasons for many of these disputes, as economic differences between the North and the South fed into opposing viewpoints taken by businessmen and landowners in different regions. Lawmakers on opposing sides of disputes about slavery also connected their arguments to assertions about states' rights. Civics test question. What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? Freed the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in the Confederacy, which included most Southern states. When Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation during the Civil War, his announcement freed people held in slavery in the Confederate States. After Juneteenth, the next national U.S. holiday on the calendar is Independence Day. Many people consider Independence Day to be a kind of birthday party for the United States of America. Often, the U.S. flag will be flown on this day, and the colors of the flag, red, white, and blue, will feature prominently in fireworks shows and in other celebratory events. Independence Day is celebrated every year on July 4th. Although the official name of the holiday is Independence Day, it's often simply called the 4th of July. On Independence Day, it's common to hear people wish one another a happy 4th. The reason Independence Day is celebrated on the 4th of July is that the Declaration of Independence was adopted on this date in the year 1776. Representatives of the 13 colonies gave their official support for the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence was written to announce our independence from Great Britain. The colonists who decided to declare that the United States was free from Great Britain supported the idea that everyone is born with certain rights, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Founding Fathers asserted that the King of Great Britain was exercising tyranny over the 13 original states by denying Americans life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, by making Americans pay high taxes without giving them representation in government, and by making unfair demands like boarding or quartering. Because of taxation without representation, and because they didn't have self government, Americans in Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, and the 10 other original colonies decided to announce their independence from Great Britain. A representative from the colony of Virginia, Thomas Jefferson, wrote the Declaration of Independence on behalf of all 13 colonies. Jefferson was also one of the people to officially adopt the Declaration on behalf of his state on July 4, 1776. Though the Revolutionary War was long and difficult, the 13 original colonies eventually succeeded in making good on the Declaration of Independence. Under the leadership of George Washington, and with the help of international allies like the French, the American military managed to push the British into surrendering their claim on the colonies. The 13 original states officially became an independent country, the United States of America. Not long after, the Founding Fathers set up the government by writing the Constitution, and then elected Washington as the nation's first president. Civics test question. When do we celebrate Independence Day? When do we celebrate Independence Day? July 4th. Independence Day is celebrated every year on July 4th. Civics test question. When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? July 4th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence was adopted on the 4th of July in the year 1776. Civics test question. What did the Declaration of Independence do? What did the Declaration of Independence do? Announced our independence. The Declaration of Independence announced our independence from Great Britain. The letter Jefferson wrote and colonial representatives signed in 1776 declared our independence. In other words, it said that the United States is free from Great Britain. Civics test question. What are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? What are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? Life and liberty. Rights mentioned in the Declaration of Independence include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Civics test question. Why did the colonists fight the British? Why did the colonists fight the British? Because they didn't have self-government. The colonists fought the British because they were being denied self-government. They decided to declare their independence because of high taxes, and more especially because of taxation without representation. Colonists also fought for independence from Great Britain because of boarding, or quartering, which meant the British Army stayed in their houses. Civics test question. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Jefferson. The Declaration of Independence was written mostly by Thomas Jefferson. After Independence Day on the national U.S. holiday calendar comes Labor Day. Labor Day is observed the first Monday in September. Labor Day was made a national holiday toward the end of the 1800s to celebrate the contributions of workers and the labor movement. Americans often remember people who fought for workers' rights on Labor Day. As with Memorial Day, parades, picnics, and barbecues are common. Labor Day also marks the end of the summer vacation season. The next national holiday of the year is in October. On the second Monday of the month of October, many Americans celebrate Columbus Day. Columbus Day recognizes the historical significance of the voyage across the Atlantic Ocean undertaken more than 500 years ago by European navigator Christopher Columbus. Columbus's accidental arrival in the Caribbean marks the beginning of European colonization of the Americas, which led to the creation of the 13 original colonies and then to the establishment of the United States as an independent country. Because of this, Columbus has long been seen as a pivotal figure in the history of the USA. The name Columbus Day and the holiday itself are controversial, however. The colonization of the Americas has resulted in the death, oppression, and organized exploitation of millions of American Indians and their descendants. Native American people today continue to grapple with abuses perpetrated first by colonial governments and then by the U.S. government, and Christopher Columbus himself is known to have treated Native American people he encountered on his journeys across the Atlantic with dehumanizing cruelty. For these reasons, Columbus is sometimes viewed as a symbol of genocide and European-centered racism. Though Columbus Day remains a national U.S. holiday, at least for now, alternatives have been proposed. On the same Monday in October that Columbus Day is celebrated, some states instead observe Indigenous Peoples Day as a way of recognizing Native American history and culture. The future of Columbus Day as a federally recognized holiday remains a topic of national discussion, deliberation, and debate. There is more than one national U.S. holiday in November. The first November national holiday is Veterans Day, celebrated each year on November 11th. Veterans Day honors everyone who has served in the armed forces of the United States. November 11th was chosen as the date for celebrating Veterans Day because the First World War officially ended on November 11th. The first president to formally recognize November 11th as a date of national importance was Woodrow Wilson, who served as the country's commander-in-chief during World War I. Congress later followed Wilson's lead by officially turning November 11th into the national U.S. holiday we call Veterans Day. As on Memorial Day, many towns hold parades in honor of members of the U.S. military on Veterans Day. Civics test question. Who was president during World War I? Who was president during World War I? Wilson. The President of the United States during World War I was Woodrow Wilson. Wilson formally marked the day World War I ended in November as a date of national importance, eventually leading to the creation of Veterans Day as a national U.S. holiday. The other national U.S. holiday in November is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is celebrated on the fourth Thursday in November. Traditionally, Thanksgiving was celebrated to give thanks for the autumn harvest. While Thanksgiving is still a harvest time celebration, it's now often seen as a day for people to express gratitude and appreciation for what they have in more general terms. Even when times are hard, as they were for most Americans during the Great Depression, friends and family traditionally gather on Thanksgiving to focus on the positive, celebrating the good things that have happened in the year that is ending. The traditional Thanksgiving Day dinner includes turkey, corn, and pumpkin pie. The final national U.S. holiday of the year is Christmas Day. In the United States, Christmas is typically celebrated on December 25th. For most Christians who use the Western calendar, Christmas is observed on this date as an important religious holiday that commemorates the birth of Jesus Christ. On the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve, many churches in the United States hold special services to mark the occasion, and many businesses close early as people prepare for the coming celebrations. Even outside of religious observances, however, Christmas is a hugely popular holiday in the United States. Since it's celebrated even by many Americans who enjoy it not as a religious holiday, but merely as a day to relax or participate in cheerful wintertime activities with family and friends, Christmas is recognized by the federal government as a national U.S. holiday. People who work for the government normally get December 25th as a paid day off, and many non-government employers have the same policy. Civics test question. Name 2 national U.S. holidays. Name 2 national U.S. holidays. Christmas and New Year's Day. 2 national U.S. holidays are Christmas and New Year's Day. The 11 national U.S. holidays are New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. This is the end of the final lesson of Citizenship on the Go.